Ladies and gentlemen, it is about that time. About time for what, you may be wondering. Once again, Transformation Greatness has decided to team up with the Small Business Network podcast. And then so, during this Memorial holiday, episode 81 is about to go down. It's about to be history here, folks. And my guest today is someone that is truly inspirational. She is someone that is an author. She is a speaker such as yours truly. And she's also a part of a community in which that we most certainly respect, which is the Circle of Love United, hosted by Doreen Wood and also Coach Beverly Arcano. So before we go ahead and get this started, guys, for everybody that's in attendance, if you are catching this on the live, put in hashtag live. Let us know exactly on where you're tuning in from. And if you should be on the replay, again, it's a holiday. We totally get it. You're probably either conducting business or out with family. Put in hashtag replay and let us know where you're tuning in from. Before we go ahead and get started, allow me to introduce myself if you don't know me. My name is Shawn White, and I'm the founder and creator of a brand which is called Transformation Greatness, which is all about motivating, encouraging, and inspiring the masses. And I'm also a partner and CEO with the Small Business Network, along with our founder and CEO, Dr. James McConnell. So with all those pleasantries out the way, you didn't come on board to listen to me. No, we got a star. We got a legend in the making, folks. And I want you to really get excited. More importantly, do me a favor, because what you're about to hear is going to be so jaw-dropping and inspirational. I recommend for you to invite the whole community. So if you're in South Carolina, Georgia, Japan, Australia, Planet Mars, wherever, you invite everybody from the whole community, and everybody get your pens and paper ready, because it's about to go down. And with that, to my right, we have, once again, an author, an inspirational speaker, someone that's going to literally tear the house down. I introduce to you, hailing all the way from Columbia, South Carolina, I believe.
Columbia, South Carolina, yes.
The one and only Miss Bernice Johnson. Welcome aboard, Miss Johnson. How are you today?
I'm well, Shawn. I am great. How are you? And thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You know what? This is very, very exciting. It's not too often that I get a chance to interview such greatness and an author and a powerhouse speaker. I mean, this is something that's just an honor. So I really want to go ahead and jump right into it because, man, I'm just waiting for the people just to hear you. So let's go ahead and jump into the first one. So if you can just introduce yourself a little bit to the listening audience, who are you?
Well, you did great. I love it. Thank you. As Shawn mentioned, I am Bernice Johnson. I am a best-selling author. I am a four-time contributing best-selling author and international author. I am here in Columbia, South Carolina. Um, I love what I do, and when I say I love what I do, I'm just here to impact. I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to be impactful. I'm from a small town in South Carolina, outside Orangeburg County, that's called Bowman, South Carolina. And I'm here. I'm ready for it, Shawn. Whatever you have for me, just bring
That's
it.
right. Let's go ahead and get into this. Also, as a fun fact too, Bernice, I have family all throughout South Carolina, from Sumter to Columbia to Charleston to everywhere else in South Carolina. Between that and North Carolina, they all spread out. They're all spread out.
Small world.
Indeed. So, is it safe to say that would you be considered as a Geechee?
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have people have told me that I have that dialect. But I am my little town where my hometown is like maybe 45 minutes, an hour from where I'm originally born and raised from Charleston. So I am close to the water. So you might hear a little Geechee dialect, but I'm not fully blown Geechee.
Gotcha. Awesome. And I just want to just say hello as far as to those who listen to the audience. We have here Dr. James McConnell, aka the Mad Scientist. Welcome. And we have here Miss Daphne Davis, aka Daphne Ferris. Welcome once again. Guys, do me a favor as you're coming on here because this is going to be so inspirational. Please go ahead and share this out and tag people that need to hear this. I'm telling you guys, it's about to go down. And this is just a pre. We ain't really gotten to it yet. Man. But anywho, moving right along here. So question number 2 that I got for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your brand or your legacy that you have? Because I noticed to the left of you, if I'm not mistaken, yes, you actually have here as far as your book cover, but we really can't see it in its entirety. So maybe you can discuss to us about that.
Okay, well, my brand, if you ever heard of me or if you decide to research me, my brand is everything about impactful. I'm here for just standing in the gap. I want to be impactful, encouraging, inspiring, motivational. Um, what Shawn was just mentioning to the right of me, it's my book cover, Keep On Keeping On. Your growth will bear fruit to feed others. This book ignites the fire into you, let you know that it's not about how you start, it's not about where you start from, but it's all about the race you run and how you finish. It's very impactful. It allows you just to know to tap into your greatness. There are going to be storms that's going to come against you, but not all storms are bad storms. There are storms of elevation. Not all storms are storms of destruction. It's just there to push you and to get you to clear that path to get you where you need to be, because everybody has a purpose. Everyone has a God-given purpose. And all of that is wrapped up into my book, Keep On Keeping On. Your growth will bear fruit to feed others. Because it's not always about you. It's about the kingdom, glorifying the kingdom, and actually what I call praying it forward.
Very interesting. You said something that was very powerful. And if you have watched any of my podcasts in the past, you know I have a tendency to keep people on their toes. So I like to pivot here. I definitely love to pivot. So I got a question for you
Okay.
because what you said is not about you, right? And that's very counterintuitive because when we go through storms and we go through situations, we have a tendency as far as to really focus on ourselves because we're actually going through it.
Yeah.
But what you're saying for the individual, whatever storms, whatever adversities that they're going through, it's not about them. Can you
Yes.
elaborate on that? Because I'm kind of
Sure.
playing devil's advocate and I'm kind of confused on that.
Yes, well, let me give you a perfect example.
Sure.
Storms, like I said, storms gonna come. And most of the time when there's a storm, it's not always about you. For example, before I even did this, my solo project, Keep On Keeping On, I birthed a title in an anthology, which is called More Than a
Okay.
Conqueror. That particular title, which I labeled it as Crisis to Clarity, it was when I was going through my storm that I really thought was a storm of destruction.
Okay.
I knew it was in my mind. I knew it was totally about me. But this particular storm was when my daughter was facing depression and she had attempted to commit suicide. But God allowed me and her a second chance at life. So he used that storm that I thought was all about me because I was going through it. I was the mom on the receiving end. You know, she had children, so I was the grandmother on the receiving end. I blame myself for a whole lot of things that I just wasn't sure what really was the actual cause or the root cause of where she got, how she died spiral.
Right.
So that particular storm was not about me. It was more of God setting me to cause me to birth the book that I have now that's right behind me. Keep On Keeping
Mm,
On. For me to pour and stand in the gap, because I came from a very, very small community. And I always would say that community is a community of little or no hope. But was it for my daughter going through that particular storm, it wouldn't have got me to this vulnerable point where I shared everything. I was authentic. I was transparent. I wanted to motivate others to let them know, hey, this is the signs you need to look for. If you have someone that's displaying these signs, I just wanted to be that foundation. I wanted to stand in the gap. I wanted to make sure that nobody felt or went through anything that I was going through. So I was pretty much trying to paint a blueprint, a picture to a bridge for someone else to stand on. Because again, I didn't want to leave here and had the knowledge that I have of depression, suicidal awareness, mental health awareness in me without sharing it to the world. So I opened up about my story. I shared my story. I had people reach out to me saying, thank you for sharing your story, because that opened up the gateway for me to feel okay to share my story, because they thought they was the only person that was going through it.
Right.
Because looking at me, they had no idea what I was going through. So again, that storm I was going through was not about me. It was bigger than what I thought. It was bigger than what I was looking at, because it allowed me to share what I was going through, from my parent side, and that allowed me to help others push forward, pray forward, understand that mental health is real, is that you can get your mental health can be compromised. So once I did that, God just kept downloading to me, I need you to go out and impact the world. I want you to understand that it's more than just that title to that actual chapter in that book.
Right.
You have more work to do. So he poured into me is what I poured into this book here, allowing people to know that, hey, there are sometimes you're going to get in situations. It's not going to be ideal situations, but that doesn't mean you doesn't have purpose. Sometimes you're going to be in a place you don't want to be in, but you have to learn to plant your feet, take root, and grow until you can get to where you want to be. So that's why I always say it's not about you, it's about what you impact in the world to help others.
Mm,
Does that make
that's
sense?
that. I mean, you know what? That makes 1,001 cents. Like, wow, yeah, that was definitely powerful. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's starting to get real, real juicy. So I see certain comments here. I'm trying to, well, I'm pretty sure it's like super positive, but we're gonna keep this thing moving. I got a question to ask you because I remember my experience when I written A Line for Your Greatness, my first book. And I remember the emotions that was attached to that. But I also remember there was a certain, I don't want to say fear, but I guess it was like a sense of, mm, as I'm writing this, I'm getting really emotional because I'm remembering, that particular time and wondering, somewhere in the back of my mind, like, do people really want to hear this? I mean, it's not as powerful or impactful as like Les Brown or Lisa Nichols or Bishop T.D. Jakes or Eric Thomas or whoever. My question to you is that as you were writing your book, was there any sense of trepidation as you was going through that, or it was just more so, listen, I just gotta get it out there and I'm just gonna write and I'm just gonna be in the zone?
Well, I had to learn that, and this might help you. I had to learn that when you're writing, your audience is not going. Your book, your writing is not going to be for everybody. You have a certain audience that's assigned to you. There are certain people that's listening for your voice. There's certain people that's listening for your story. So as I was going through, I questioned myself. It's not that I'm telling my business,
Right,
but I'm telling my story. There's
right,
a
right.
difference. So I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Today, I decided, and I am very obedient, but this morning I got up and I'm trying to make the story a little, as compressed as possible. I
That's
got
fine.
up this morning and I decided that I was going to take. I have a 13-year-old out today because the weather was kind of bad in South Carolina, so he really didn't have much to do or didn't get a chance to do anything because it rained totally the whole Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
So so I kept getting a nudge in my spirit to tell me to go to a particular place. So I got up, I asked him to get up. So we decided to, I was obedient. I went to exactly where the nudge told me to go, which I know now is the Holy Spirit. So when I got there, I ran into a gentleman that I've known from a previous establishment. I haven't seen him in for some years. So I went over, I spoke to him. My son also spoke to him. So we kind of just conversed for a little bit. And then he asked me, he said, so what have you been up to? I haven't seen you for some time. And I said, so I told him, my author journey. I co-authored in 4 books. I wrote my own solo project. So he said, I would love to get a copy of your book. I said, sure. He said, so can you get it to me like next week? So me thinking, I said, okay, I'm spending one-on-one time with my son. Okay, I'll get it to him next week. But I always keep copies of my book in my car. So I went to my table. We sat down, my son and I started, we placed our food, and I kept getting the nudge again, saying, no, I need you to go to the car and get a copy of your book for him today. Don't wait till next week. So I did exactly what I was told. I went to the car. I came back. I signed the book. I wrote a special message inside of the book, not knowing anything that what was going on in his life, because I haven't seen him in over a year, maybe 2 years. So when I went to him, I walked up to him. I said, I have something for you. So he looked at my book and he got a little teary-eyed. I said, what's wrong? He said, where were you a year ago? I said, what is that supposed to mean? He said, my life has been turned upside down. He said, just by looking at your book, you telling me what your book is about. The title of your book itself is inspiring to me. So he opened the page of the book where I actually script the message to him and signed it. He came over, he gave me the biggest hug. He said, I have to read this book tonight. He said, everything you wrote in your book, that you scripted to me personally, is what I needed to hear. So that it gave me chills, but it resonated with me because I know that I'm on the right track. I know that my book is not for everybody because everybody's not going through the same type of storm. They maybe has already went through it or in the middle of it or going to end up coming face to that storm that I went through. So that being said, don't ever get discouraged thinking that when you're writing something and you're telling your business, you're not telling your business, you're telling the story. You're telling the story to be impactful. You're not telling the story to be popular, but you're telling the story to let them know that there is always a purpose behind any storm that you go through. And I was able to bless him today just by him looking at the cover of my book and what I scripted inside. And he came over back to my table before leaving again and said, I can't thank you enough. He said, I don't know how you knew. I say, I don't know how I know, but I knew I was supposed to be here and you were my assignment.
Powerful. Absolutely powerful. This is what I'm talking about here. And this is what Transformation Greatness and the Small Business Network podcast is all about. It's all about bringing you real people with real stories. And the whole purpose of doing this podcast segment is to create value and breakthroughs and even aha moments as well. And I believe that someone have definitely gotten a breakthrough and clarity as well. So I appreciate that. Bernice, I am curious, is that based on everything in which that you said was absolutely powerful, but I think the audience wants to know, and you might have addressed this before, so I do apologize, but if you can just elaborate a little bit more, what inspired you to become an author? Just curious on that.
What is me? I want to break that again. I came from that small town. My family is. I am one of 6 children. We had, it was middle class. We didn't have everything, but we had enough.
Right.
If that makes sense. But we had enough just to get by. The reason why I wrote well, the reason why I became an author, the reason why I wrote this particular book, and the reason why I've shared so many different stories in so many different anthologies about how my life unfolded and the inspiration and the motivation that I want everyone to understand that life is going to throw some curveballs. Sometimes you have to catch those curveballs and throw them back, or you have to dodge them. But at the end of the day, I wrote these books to let others know that I want to stand in and I want to be the bridge. I want to stay in the gap. I want to break generational curses. I want them to understand that if God can do it for me, he can do it for you. At the end of the day, we all have a purpose. We have to tap into our purpose, and we have to be obedient. So my biggest why of why I wrote books is because for my children, children, my grandchildren, for my ancestors. My grandmother is still here. She's 90 years old. I want them to know that, hey, I am here to impact the world. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to motivate, and I am here to make a difference.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about. In the words of Dr. James McConnell, stir those hot grits. Stir them hot grits. I love it. I love it. So, Bernice, I want to ask you this question, but then again, I really don't. I'm kind of torn because this has just been amazing, and you have just been authentic, and I know a lot of people are getting value from this, especially for those that's going to watch this on the replay, because I know it's a Memorial Day. But I gotta ask, right? You're doing so many great things. I mean, you say you're a four-time bestseller, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
as being an author. And I mean, you are part of like a lot of great different things, and people are, requesting you, and you're just doing great, amazing stuff, right? And I guess my question is that why now? Why is it so important for you to expand your reach? Because you can just be like, well, you know what? I'm doing great things, and I have my tribe, I have my community, and I'm just gonna be selfish, right? It's gonna be just about me and my tribe and everything else, and forget about everybody else, right? So why is it important to expand your reach? Why now the sense of urgency? Why?
There's no selfish bone in me. That's
Oh,
one thing about me. There is no selfish bone in me. I am here. As I learn, I aim to teach. I want to be that one to, like you said, I want to expand my reach. I want people to know, because there may be somebody in China that's dealing with the same thing I went through, but don't know how to actually get through it, or ways or attempt to get through it. So I can reach somebody in China, here in South Carolina, in the US, let them know, hey, because at the end of the day, a storm is not catered to one particular region. So I want to be able to get out there, spread my wings. I've always been told that I need to spread my wings because I have so much to give to the world. And by being an author, that is one way where I can spread my wings, because it can reach places that I may never reach in my lifetime physically.
interesting. Very interesting. I learned something new. Got a question for you, Bernice. If people were to get a hold of you, right? How can they get a hold of you?
Well, I am on social media as Bernice Johnson, which is my personal page, author Bernice Johnson on Facebook, author Bernice Johnson on Instagram, and also author Bernice Johnson on TikTok. My Facebook page, my personal one, is just Bernice Johnson, or they can email me at johnsonbernice829@gmail.com.
Fantastic. And also, too, I believe somebody asked what was the name of your book. So if you can just repeat that for the listening audience.
Yes, the name of my book is Keep On Keeping On. Your growth will bear fruit to feed others. It can be found on Amazon.com.
Fantastic. Now, this last question here. If you've seen any of my podcasts in the past, I'd love to preface this question by saying this. Everything in what you say is 1,000% spot on, and I'm in total alignment with that. But Bernice, me and you both know there are individuals that's going to watch this, and they're going to say, well, you know what, Bernice? Shawn, that sounds great, but you don't understand my story, and I'm going through something different, and I don't trust people, or I'm going through so much right now that people just can't understand, and you guys can't relate and understand what I'm possibly going through. I'm just like going through so much, and like, yeah, I mean, I'm hearing on what you guys saying, but I'll come back to that at a later time. Right now, I'm just dealing with so much, and I really don't know. I want you for about 2 to 3 minutes, or however long that it takes you. I want you to go ahead and take a look in that camera, and I want you to speak to that individual. If they were right there in front of you and was saying that, what would you tell him or perhaps her?
Well, that's a perfect question because I was once that person. I was that person that said, nobody can understand. Don't tell me you understand because you don't understand. You haven't gone through what I'm going through, or you're not even going through what I'm going through. That is true. You may not be going I may not be going through what you're going through, but at the end of the day, what I learned in a situation that we must go and have time with ourselves. We have to be authentic and transparent with ourselves. We have to understand that our storms, yes, we're gonna cry. We're gonna cry because I know I've cried for days, hours, sometimes seems like months, weeks, years. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that hey, when I wrote my book, if you could take the time to, even if you look on my book and get it online, the e-copy of it, it aligns every chapter in my book where I tell a story. It aligns with biblical facts that lets you know that hey, God is real. If anybody can tell you God is real, I can. I've been at the lowest point in my life that I thought that I was at wit's ends. But at the end of the day, once you hit bottom, you can't go no place else but up.
Come on now. Come on now.
So you
Okay.
just you have to keep praying. You have to keep moving. You have to keep allowing God to use you. You can't fix it yourself, and you can't continue to keep praying for the same thing over and over and over again because He heard you the first time. You have to pray it, believe it, have faith, and then walk in it. So at the end, again, no, we may not understand what you're going through, but at the end of the day, we know that you are going through. But if you just reach out to your Father, your Heavenly Father, and just talk to Him, have one-on-one, be authentic with yourself, you will understand that there is a light at the end of that tunnel.
Mm, 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 mm. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to always think that I was good, but compared to Bernice, I tell you, she just convinced me that I have a long way to go. I have a long way to go because I can't even hold a candle to Bernice. So I say that and say this, ladies and gentlemen, if you know anyone that has any conferences, if they are looking for true, authentic speakers, someone to motivate and inspire the crowd and really get people to move in such a way that it creates action and transformation, please book Bernice Johnson. You won't be disappointed. And also make sure that you get her book as well because I'm surprised. I don't have a copy, but I'm going to get one. Absolutely. And I know it is definitely a classic. Anything else that you would like to leave for the listening audience? Any words of wisdom? Anything else?
I just want you to know that just stay encouraged, stay blessed, understand that everything's happened for a reason. It may not be good, it may not look good, but just keep God first because at the end of the day, there's nobody that's going to do you the way God does you.
Mm. On that note, there's nothing else for me to even say except for this wraps up episode 81 of Transformation Greatness along with the Small Business Network podcast. I thank my very special guest, Miss Bernice Johnson. She is doing amazing and fantastic things. Guys, if you have gotten value, please feel free to reach out to the star of the show because I tell you, God is doing just some powerful and amazing things. So by all means connect with her. And also for those that's in the listening audience, if you or you know someone that would love as far as to be interviewed and have an opportunity to spotlight your skill set, your expertise, wisdom, knowledge, and if that sounds ideal, by all means, please feel free to reach out to myself. So until then, family, that concludes episode 81 once again. And if what we stated on here either motivated, transformed, or inspired at least one person, may God be the glory. And we take no credit for absolutely none of it. Until then, we appreciate all of your time. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial holiday. And until the next episode, peace and love. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you, Shawn.
Absolutely.